Alright, welcome back to Questing Beast. Today we're going to be taking a whirlwind tour through the three most recent issues of Wormskin. Wormskin is a fantastic D&D zine put out by Necrotic Gnome Publications and written mostly by Gorgonmilk and Gavin Norman. Gavin Norman wrote the Theorems and Thaumaturgy book, which I reviewed recently. Now, if you'd like to see the first three issues of this reviewed, you can check it out right up here. I did those some time ago. But these cover all the way up through, I think is the most recent issue, the spring 2017 issue. And I think the summer issue is coming out soon, but I haven't picked it up yet. In any case, this is what we have so far. These Wormskin books cover a fantastic setting called Dolmenwood, which is a mythic forest full of fairies and fairy tale-like creatures and darkness and whimsy. It's one of my favorite things being published in the OSR today in terms of sheer creativity and entertainingness to read, if that's a word. I just love reading these. I love getting them in the mail. It's always the highlight of my day. They come out about once a quarter, and I just want to show you what makes these things so fantastic. So this one is from autumn of 2016, and it follows right after the issue 3, which I reviewed previously, talking about the ruined Abbey of St. Cloud. That one talked about the upper layers of the Abbey. This one will delve down into the lower ones. We'll be looking at the dungeon underneath. So let's look at some of the highlights from this issue. First off, I want to point out how great the design is. This one actually has color in it, and it really pops. There's just fantastic combination of public domain art along with commissioned art. So this one's going to look at Atacorn's Retreat, the fickleness of fairy magic, the lesser stones of Dolmenwood, but the majority of the book is going to be the crypts beneath the ruined Abbey of St. Cloud. Great piece of art there. So this goes into Farthigny, who is a kind of demonic goat man who lures people into his cottage and, of course, does horrible things. We have some songs that he might sing, along with details about what they sound like, if you want to give him something to sing. What's going on underneath his cottage? And we have the lesser stones of Dolmenwood here. This is a great random generator. It uses a D30, but I suppose you could use a D20, or you could simulate it using a D6 and a D10 maybe. In any case, it's a great generator for using, even if you're not running Dolmenwood. You just want some interesting standing stones with magical abilities. This is a great place to start. So, for example, the standing stone might be made out of iron ore and in the form of a slab. And its surface may be pocked with small holes, and is set at the crossing of paths. Meanwhile, its unusual property might be that phantom lights flit all around it, and its features of note is that it has a single sigil, may be recognized as the mark of Ygraine. So by randomizing these, you can create all sorts of fantastic little stones to run into in the forest. So here's the majority of the book. It's the ruined abbey, is the underground dungeon. So this is what the dungeon looks like. It's great, it's isometric, it's very easy to read, and you have all of the different locations in it. And what's fantastic is that as you actually go through the dungeon, you can see here that each of the places is reproduced as you need them. That makes it very easy to find what you need to find while you're reading it. You don't have to flip back to the back of the book. I actually ran this dungeon with some of my players. You can see my run through of it right up here from my Sunday Dungeon Crawl series. All right, so our next issue has a great looking cover. This is Wormskin Issue 5 from the winter of 2017. And this is going to cover the Droon, which is a strange secret society that keeps showing up all throughout the Dolmenwood. It's a great piece of public domain art there. A great use of it in any case to combine with the actual design. We have a quick look through of the Droon and what their motivations are, what they're doing, what their relationship with the other factions are, their schemes, and so on. We have some fantastic hex crawling procedures that you can adapt for any game that uses hex crawling. It has random events and the types of weather that might be happening and mishaps that you can run into. We have a extended section about a hag living in one of the hexes. Quite a terrifying monster, actually. The hag comes in many different forms. She keeps changing shapes every time that you encounter her. So for example, she might look like a desiccated half-elf who is lost. Her clothing is made out of buckskin. Her attitude is angry. she has a seductive speech, and she is carrying an empty basket. Right? That could be one time you find her, but the next time is going to be different. No one is quite sure what she's going to look like. She is guarding something very mysterious. She's guarding a doorway into Fairy, which clever players can actually access, but whether they want to access it is a whole different question. There are tons of adventure hooks scattered throughout both of these books. Adventure hooks and rumors, just buckets of them. This book gives you more than you will ever need in terms of things to run, adventures to start out on. Great piece of, I think, Arthur Rackham art. And some monsters. We have the Boggin, the Brambling, the Droon, the Flambraggard, which are these fantastic fighters / furnaces made out of wrought iron with flames belching out of their bellies. And they have a very jovial attitude about everything. I love the flavor of that. That's wonderful. Also, the backs of these books tend to have maps of the hexes that are described within, which makes it very easy to look up where things are in relation to each other. I think that's a great touch. And our last book is Wormskin Issue 6. This is the biggest issue that they've done so far. I believe it is 74 issues long, so it's quite substantial. This one is going to look at some fairy lords, the Brackenwold calendar, the town of Prigwort, which is going to be the main feature of it, the Baker's Dozen, the Gingerbread Grimoire, the people and places of Prigwort, and spirituous beverages, along with some more monsters. Most issues do come with a short bestiary of monsters. The Fairy Lords of Dolmenwood. We've heard so much about these in a lot of the previous issues, and it's great to see them really fleshed out. They all have wonderful names, like the Earl of Yellow, Lady Belladonna, the Lady of Spring Unending, and so on. The Brackenwold calendar. Now, I was listening to Matt Colva recently talking about how important calendars are, and that really jived with what I was reading here. This calendar brings out the setting and the flavor of Dolmenwood in a way that few other things can. When you actually tell people what the day of the week is and the months of the year and the feast days and the unseasons that happen in between the different seasons, it makes them feel like they're there. The people and all the NPCs are going to respond to these things. It's going to matter to them. And when it affects the campaign, then the players will be thinking about them too. We also have Saints' Days, and there's a mention of an upcoming issue where we may be getting a list of actual saints of Dolmenwood and where all of their shrines are. I'm really looking forward to that. Prigwort is one of the main cities in Dolmenwood. It's right over here. That's where the ruined Abbey of St. Cloud is, just for context. We have Harrimore Keep. And skipping ahead to some interesting bits. So Baker's Dozen, I really love this little adventure. So it's a bakery full of 12 daughters and one woman named Mother. And they're bakers. They try and steal your baked goods whenever they encounter you on the road. There's a great picture of Mother, who has a ring of vanishing and a wand of condiments. But of course, as most things in Dolmenwood go, this place harbors a dark secret. Why are there giant gingerbread men lumbering about the place, doing the women's bidding? Where did they come from? Dark secrets abound. The Gingerbread Grimoire, some wonderful baking-related spells that you can pick up. You can encrust people in pastry crust, you can turn them into gingerbread men, or partially into gingerbread men, and then snap off parts of their body as pieces of cake. Wonderful stuff. Going into Prigwort, the main feature of Prigwort that I love the most is this, a dashing garments list. So you can find a tailor who gives you an excuse to spend gold. Because in old school D&D, you often acquire a lot of gold as you gain XP. And so what are you going to do with it all? Spend it on just absurd, ridiculous clothing. For example, why don't you buy some pantaloons, and let's make the pantaloons out of ermine. That way it's going to cost you platinum coins. And let's add some embellishments. How about they're enchanted, or they're just covered in buckles, or maybe they are fur-lined. So you just create absurd clothing. I can't imagine players not wanting to just go wild on this and deck themselves out in ridiculous outfits. My players would. We have some great descriptions of some inns that you can find, all of which are very concrete, very fleshed out. They feel alive. They feel distinct. And I think players will pick up on that if you use the descriptions in here. They're the sort of place that you would actually want to hang out, or at least your PCs might actually want to hang out. They're not just a stopover place. They have their own personality. We have more than enough rumors for what you might want to do in Prigwort. And we have a drink generator. So for example, this one is a Barrow Blaster. It's streaked white and black. It tastes like iron. And its effect is belching and goggling if you fail a save. Or you can roll on these tables and create your own beverages. And we have some monsters, such as the Kelpie and some types of worms. In this case, the black bile worm, the phlegm worm, the blood worm, and the yellow bile worm, which I thought was hilarious, since those are the classical humors of classical medicine. So that's it. Those are our 3 most recent issues for Wormskin. Strongly recommended. These things are so packed with flavor, and they are just a joy to read. It's so hard to find settings that are interesting and just entertaining to read all the way through. You can read them for enjoyment, not just to prep for sessions. And I love that about these books. Great world building, great art, great design, and great inspiration for creating your own stuff. That's it for this review. If you enjoyed this, please remember to subscribe. You can also join me on Patreon over here if you would like to support me making videos like this. And please leave a comment below if you know of any other great zines for me to check out. There are so many D&D zines out there, and I'm really trying to find the best of the best to introduce to all of you. Thanks for watching, everyone. See you guys later.